get to Tim Walz, who, just when you think no one's sitting at this table, neither she nor the big white blanket, can embarrass themselves any further, he does. She asks him, to her credit, about the carrying the weapons in war, which we know is a lie. He never served in war. He's been stealing valor for quite some time.
Our strength is our diversity. We've been talking about this for years as a country of immigrants, and we let them define the issue on immigration. We let them define the issue on DEI, and we let them define what woke is. We got ourselves in this mess because we weren't bold enough to stand up and say, you damn right we're proud of these policies. We're going to put them in, and we're going to execute them.
So, wait, you lost because you weren't woke enough?
Everyone, buckle up, because we are about to go on a political whirlwind that might leave you speechless. Well, what's happening? Megyn Kelly and Greg Gutfeld are the ones who have thrown down the gauntlet against Minnesota Governor Tim Walz.
The Tampon King gets back in the ring. I speak of former VP nominee Tim Walz. He joined Beto O'Rourke at a Texas town hall last night, and the estrogen levels were enough to give Chuck Norris menstrual cramp.
And Tim Walz really did indeed look like the bumbling knucklehead he said he was.
Trust me, this is not your usual political chit-chat. It's more of a brutal smackdown.
Outpouring of love for his son and the relationship between a father and son in that moment was overwhelming too. Yes, even among Republicans. But he wants to dodge the responsibility for his lies, and he brings up his son to do it. He tried.
Let's just say that Greg and Megyn have kind of tag teamed to draw attention to what they call Walz's dark secrets, and it gets very heated.
Walz also seemed to doubt the validity of the last election and future ones.
They've released analyses of election data out of Clark County, Nevada, that show some pretty convincing evidence of election tampering. So what can we do to make sure, A, that the midterms actually happen, and B, that they're free of fraud?
Yeah, this one's a core. We saw just recently Donald Trump's executive order to make it more difficult, specifically to women, trying to make it more difficult for women to be able to vote. We see one of the first things they do is try and restrict the vote.
Wait, so Trump is making it more difficult for women to...
They now look closely at his claims about military service, a topic you would think someone would thoroughly verify. It seems, however, that Tim did not. He got caught up in an odd web of deceit that is now being exposed. And here's the problem.
You said you carried weapons in war, but you've never deployed in a war zone. A campaign official of yours said you misspoke. Did you? Well, I'm proud, incredibly proud of my record. He keeps doing this. Equally proud of my service in the classroom. Did I mention I was a teacher and a coach, an assistant coach? Okay, whatever. But he's more stolen valor. In the classroom, I'm in the classroom. My record speaks for itself. It doesn't, actually. You've put a lot of lies into that record that you've been called out on by service personnel. You must clarify, as your campaign had tried to do, and now you appear to be distancing yourself from that clarification.
This is just the first step. Megyn's keen intellect and Greg's trademark snark are used to analyze the governor's contentious policies.
Here's, two pieces of this that are really... I speak like they do. People are coming to get to know me. I speak like they do. I speak candidly. I wear my emotions on my sleeves. And I speak especially passionately about... And then he goes on to blame it on the school shootings. I guess he was upset about school shootings, so he lied. But stop saying you speak like we do. I speak like regular people. What kind of bullshit is that?
They provide an unmistakable picture of troubled leadership, failed strategies, and a series of confusing public statements. Imagine Greg jokingly drawing a connection between Tim's leadership and beige wall coverings, leaving you to ask yourself, how did this guy even get here? Sincerely, you won't want to miss this in-depth conversation on the state of politics today. There is too much laughter and incisive critique for you to handle all at once. Please remember to hit the subscribe button if you want to keep laughing, asking questions, and being informed about all things political. It keeps us running and ensures that you won't miss any more videos, so thank you. Who would have thought politics could be so interesting? Well, let's get going right now. In their analysis of Governor Tim Walz's many mistakes, Megyn Kelly and Greg Gutfeld don't waste any time in pointing out specific examples that could make you question how someone can be a leader while seeming so confused. His alleged military experience is one of his more audacious claims, so maybe we should start there?
You said that you carried weapons in war, but you have never deployed actually in a war zone. A campaign official said that you misspoke. Did you?
Well, first of all, I'm incredibly proud. I've done 24 years of wearing the uniform of this country. Equally proud of my service in a public school classroom, whether it's Congress or the governor. My record speaks for itself, but I think people are coming to get to know me. I speak like they do. I speak candidly. I wear my emotions on my sleeves, and I speak especially passionately about...
You would think a guy would be forthright about such things. Tim, however, seemed to flinch when he claimed to have carried weapons in battle despite never having seen conflict. Greg and Megyn ask how such a delicate and significant aspect of his life could have been so blatantly misrepresented, getting right to the heart of the issue.
And the idea that you said that you were in war.
Yeah.
Did you misspeak as the campaign has said?
Yeah, I said we were talking about, in this case, this was after a school shooting, the ideas of carrying these weapons of war. And my wife, the English teacher, told me my grammar is not always correct. But again, if it's not this, it's an attack on my children for showing love for me, or it's an attack on my dog.
This took chutzpah.
To them, this goes beyond a simple mistake. A concerning lack of respect for those who really served is evident in this conduct. I mean, how in the world does that happen? What is the reason for his constant avoidance of the answer his campaign sought to offer? His replies to inquiries are, let's say, less than straightforward and more like a concoction of pride and confusion. Next, they talk about Walz's track record of crisis management, including how he responded to incidents like civil unrest and school shootings. His leadership, seemed to be characterized more by hesitancy and doubt than by decisive, unambiguous action. Walz's attempts to handle these problems were risky and disorganized, more like juggling hot torches, as Greg, who isn't afraid to use humor, notes. Instability in society and the catastrophe of riots come next. Megyn observes that Walz often came late with the National Guard and could have hidden behind a wall of exaggeration rather than taking up strong leadership, igniting the flames of unrest rather than extinguishing them. She wonders whose interests were being served by his slow and conflicted responses. Walz's control over the classroom is also thoroughly investigated. Megyn discusses the erratic policy changes made by his government in schools.
With Walz, it's hard to even bring him up. He has a resting snitch face. I mean, he forfeited his man card during COVID and the riots. And you're right. And also, at that diner, of course, he left early. So don't you find it weird that for a terrifying Politico lingers on candidates' fingers and defend Walz's wide eyes as they claim beards are for bad?
Schools that open one day and close the next leave parents confused and frustrated. It seems like he drew up his strategy on the fly without considering consistency or, the people who would be affected by his decisions. Once again, Greg provides commentary, this time criticizing the governor's press briefings, which often resemble dodgeball games rather than insightful answers. It presents Walz as having a fundamentally flawed leadership style that is mired in uncertainty and torn between frenzied spectacle and phony engagement. Greg compares it to seeing someone try to sell ice to an Eskimo and jokingly asks whether anybody else believes Walz thinks he can talk his way out of any situation. What about his current economic policies? Megyn explores how his erratic shutdown orders led small businesses to suffer while giant corporations seem to thrive.
Attack. But what's fundamental here is that steady leadership is going to matter.
4 fundamentals and 2 confusing, saying Israel when you meant Iran. Not ideal. May I remind you of Donald Trump's first tweet when she chose him? Thank you. That was just... I mean, he did seem unsteady. And that's the thing, because one of the goals when you get out there, Camille, is to try to project, don't worry, if anything happens at the top, I can do this job. And at no point last night did Tim.
Local companies suffered while certain enterprises were given favor, as if a game were being played, because Walz's fix for economic issues often included more committees and debates than real action. It is perhaps unsurprisingly ineffective. Adding the cherry on top, Greg mockingly claims that Walz's climate policies are better suited for Pinterest than for practical application. Megyn Kelly criticizes Tim Walz for favoring style over substance, citing superficial policies like lawn mowing advice and poorly planned solar projects. She questions his vague stance on national security and reliance on blame or quick fixes. Alongside Greg Gutfeld, she portrays his leadership as heavy on political theater, light on direct action. What's your take on Walz's leadership?